On February 28, 2025, Bell Media, a Canadian media conglomerate, announced the layoff of 98 employees. This decision came as a blow to the media landscape, particularly in Toronto and Montreal, where most of the cuts were concentrated. The layoffs were part of a larger trend of downsizing and restructuring within Bell Media, reflecting the challenges faced by traditional media companies in the digital age. These layoffs were not the first for Bell Media, and they followed a series of similar moves in recent years as the company grapples with declining revenues and a rapidly changing media consumption landscape. The February 28 layoffs were noteworthy not only for their scale, but also for their timing. They came amidst a wave of similar job cuts across the media industry, both in Canada and internationally. This broader context suggested that Bell Media's decision was not an isolated incident, but rather a symptom of deeper structural issues affecting the entire sector. The layoffs raised concerns about job security in the media industry, the future of traditional media outlets, and the impact on the diversity and quality of news and entertainment content. The cuts at Bell Media were a stark reminder of the ongoing transformation of the media industry. As audiences increasingly consume content online, traditional media companies like Bell Media are under pressure to adapt their business models and find new ways to generate revenue. The layoffs were a clear indication that this transformation is far from over, and that more difficult decisions may lie ahead for media companies struggling to navigate the digital landscape. The impact of these layoffs on the Canadian media landscape is yet to be fully realized, but they serve as a cautionary tale for the industry as a whole. The February layoffs at Bell Media primarily impacted service and corporate departments, sparing CTV news journalists and programs. This strategic decision suggests that Bell Media is prioritizing its news division, recognizing the continued importance of news in the digital age. However, the cuts to service and corporate roles highlight the company's focus on streamlining operations and reducing costs in other areas. This approach reflects a broader trend in the media industry, where companies are seeking to become leaner and more efficient in the face of financial pressures. Among the 98 positions eliminated, 44 were unionized. Bell Media offered buyouts to many of these employees, a move that was met with mixed reactions. While some employees may have welcomed the opportunity for an early exit package, others likely felt pressured to accept the buyout, fearing that their jobs were at risk regardless. The union representing Bell Media employees, Unifor, criticized the layoffs as short-sighted and unsustainable, arguing that they would ultimately harm the company's long-term prospects. The union's response highlights the tension between Bell Media's efforts to adapt to the changing media landscape and the impact of these changes on its workforce. Unifor's challenge to the classification of certain employee types as surplus further underscores the complexities of these layoffs and the potential for legal disputes. The union's vocal opposition to the cuts suggests that Bell Media may face ongoing challenges in its efforts to restructure and downsize, particularly in a climate of heightened sensitivity to job security. Bell Media attributed the February layoffs to an ongoing transformation aimed at establishing the company as a leader in digital media and content creation. This narrative, however, was met with skepticism from both industry observers and the affected employees. Critics argue that the layoffs are a symptom of deeper financial troubles, particularly the significant losses incurred by CTV conventional stations, which exceeded $180 million in 2023. This financial context suggests that Bell Media's transformation may be driven more by necessity than by a proactive strategy. Furthermore, the February layoffs were just the latest in a series of cuts and restructuring activities undertaken by Bell Media in recent years. These actions, which included the sale of 45 radio stations and the cancellation of popular programs like W5, paint a picture of a company grappling with declining revenues and struggling to find its footing in the evolving media landscape. The repeated nature of these layoffs raises questions about the effectiveness of Bell Media's long-term strategy and whether the company is adequately addressing the root causes of its financial challenges. Critics of Bell Media's approach argue that the company's focus on cost-cutting measures, such as layoffs and program cancellations, is short-sighted and ultimately unsustainable. They contend that these measures, while providing temporary financial relief, will ultimately erode the quality of Bell Media's content and weaken its competitive position in the long run. Instead, they advocate for a more strategic approach that prioritizes investment in innovative digital content, diversification of revenue streams, and a renewed focus on audience engagement. The challenges faced by Bell Media are not unique to the company. The global media industry is in a state of flux, grappling with the disruptive forces of digital technology, changing consumption habits, and a volatile economic climate. This turbulent environment has led to widespread job cuts across the industry, with thousands of media professionals losing their jobs in recent years. The situation at Bell Media is a microcosm of this broader trend, highlighting the systemic challenges facing traditional media companies worldwide. In January 2025 alone, over 900 journalism jobs were cut globally, including at prominent news organizations such as The Washington Post, The Wall Street Journal, CNN, and NBC. These cuts continued into February, with another 210 journalism jobs lost at outlets like MSNBC and the Los Angeles Times. The United Kingdom and the United States in particular witnessed a significant decline in media jobs, with approximately 4,000 positions lost in 2024 alone. These figures underscore the widespread nature of the crisis facing the media industry, as traditional revenue models crumble and companies struggle to adapt to the digital age. The ongoing wave of media layoffs has raised concerns about the future of journalism, the diversity of voices in the public sphere, and the quality of news and information available to citizens. As media organizations shrink and consolidate, there are fears that investigative journalism, local news coverage, and independent reporting will suffer. The decline of traditional media outlets also raises questions about the role of social media platforms and technology giants in shaping public discourse, and the potential implications for democracy and civic engagement.